I started pulling my hair out and found something terrifying. The U-Haul coughed and rattled its way up the gravel driveway, spitting dust like a disgruntled camel. I winced, the sound scraping against my frayed nerves. Back home. Back to the place I swore I'd escaped forever. The house loomed, a Victorian monstrosity painted a faded, sickly yellow. It had always been too big for us, even when Mom and Dad were still around. Now it was just me and the ghosts of memories I'd tried so hard to bury. Brian's voice echoed in my head, a mocking counterpoint to the cicadas buzzing in the overgrown yard. "You're running away, Sarah." Again, maybe he was right. But the city, the pressure, the constant on had become unbearable. A panic attack in the middle of a client presentation had been the final straw. I wrestled the U-Haul door open and stepped onto the uneven ground. The air was thick with humidity and the smell of decaying leaves. It wasn't the clean, sterile air of my old apartment building. It was alive and watching. The first few days were a blur of unpacking, cleaning, and trying to ignore the house's unsettling noises. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind through the drafty windows felt like a personal judgment. My anxiety ratcheted up. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake, heart pounding, convinced someone was in the house with me. Then the hair pulling started. It began subtly, just a nervous tick. I'd be working on a design project, staring at the screen, and my fingers would drift to my scalp. A gentle tug, a fleeting sense of release, but it escalated quickly. Within a week, it was a compulsion. I find myself doing it without even realizing it, sitting at my desk surrounded by a halo of fallen strands. The bathroom mirror became my enemy. I could see the thinning patches, the growing bald spots. Dr. Carter, my therapist, was sympathetic. "It's a common anxiety response, Sarah," she said during our Zoom session. "We can explore some coping mechanisms. Mindfulness exercises, maybe some medication." I nodded, pretending to listen. But I knew it wasn't just anxiety. There was something else, a deep gnawing unease that went beyond stress. One afternoon, while wrestling with a particularly stubborn strand, I felt something hard and sharp beneath my fingertips. It wasn't a scab. It wasn't a pimple. It was something else. I tugged harder, ignoring the stinging pain. The strand came loose, and with it, a small metallic object. It was roughly spherical, no bigger than a BB, and dull gray in color. It felt cold and smooth against my skin. Panic seized me. What the hell was this? How did it get there? I spent the next few hours frantically searching online, trying to identify the object. Conspiracy websites talked about alien implants and government surveillance. Medical sites listed rare skin conditions and bizarre cysts. Nothing matched. That night I couldn't sleep at all. The metallic sphere sat on my nightstand, glinting faintly in the moonlight. I kept imagining it burrowing into my brain, controlling my thoughts, twisting my desires. The nightmare started then. Vivid, disturbing images filled with shadows, whispering voices, and the feeling of being watched. I'd wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, convinced someone was standing over. Martha, my next-door neighbor, was odd. She was an elderly woman with a perpetually disapproving frown and eyes that seemed to see right through me. She'd lived in the town her whole life and seemed to know everything about everyone. "You're pulling your hair out something awful, child," she said one morning as I was getting the mail. Her voice was raspy, like dried leaves crunching underfoot. I self-consciously touched my thinning hair. "Just stressed," I mumbled. She snorted. "Stress ain't the only thing that ails folks in this town. This house has a history, you know." "What do you mean?" I asked, intrigued despite myself. She leaned closer, her eyes glinting. "Something buried deep, something old. It doesn't like being disturbed." I dismissed her words as the ramblings of an eccentric old woman, but her words lingered in my mind. I needed to talk to someone who understood the house, the town. Someone who wasn't going to dismiss me as crazy. David, my childhood best friend. He still lived in town, working as a handyman. We hadn't spoken in years, but I remembered him as being grounded, practical, and always willing to help. I found his number online and called. His voice was deeper than I remembered, but the warmth was still there. "Sarah, wow, haven't heard from you in ages. What brings you back to the sticks?" I hesitated, unsure how to explain. I need some help with the house." We met for coffee the next day at the local diner. He was taller than I remembered, his face weathered from years of working outdoors. He listened patiently as I recounted my experiences, the anxiety, the hair pulling, the metallic object, the nightmares. He raised an eyebrow. Sounds like you've been watching too many horror movies. I'm serious, David. Something's not right, he sighed. Look, Sarah, I know you've been through a lot, but this sounds like stress manifesting in a pretty extreme way. Maybe you should talk to your doctor. She thinks it's just anxiety, but it's more than that. I feel wrong. He studied my face, his expression softening. All right, I'll take a look at the house. See if I can find anything that might be causing these feelings. David spent the next few days poking around the house, checking the wiring, the plumbing, the foundation. He found nothing out of the ordinary, but I knew something was there. I could feel it, a presence lurking just beyond the periphery of my vision. We started researching the history of the house and the land it was built on. Old newspaper articles revealed a string of disappearances in the town dating back to the 1800s. Several families had lived in my house, and each one had experienced some form of tragedy. Then we found it, a small, almost unnoticeable paragraph in a local history book. The land had originally been a Native American burial ground, a burial ground that had been desecrated by the early settlers. That's it, I said, my voice trembling. That's what's causing all this. David was skeptical. Sarah, I don't know, don't you see? They disturbed something they shouldn't have, and now it's angry. The paranormal phenomena escalated. Objects moved on their own. Whispers echoed in the empty rooms. I saw shadows flicker in the corners of my eyes. One night I woke up in the middle of the forest, miles from my house. I had no memory of how I got there. My feet were bare and my clothes were torn. I ran all the way home, terrified and disoriented. The object in my scalp started to grow. It throbbed with a dull, insistent pain. My anxiety was unbearable. I felt like I was losing my mind. We need to do something, I told David, before it's too late. He finally agreed. We started searching the house for clues, anything that might help us understand what we were dealing with. That's when we found the hidden room. It was in the basement behind a false wall. A small, windowless room filled with old tools, strange symbols painted on the walls, and a dirt floor that felt wrong. A chilling wave of nausea washed over me. I knew, instinctively, that this was the heart of the darkness. I started experiencing periods of lost time more frequently. I'd wake up in strange places with no memory of what had happened. I was losing control. One afternoon, I found myself standing in front of Martha's house, my hand raised to knock on the door. I had no recollection of walking there. She opened the door, her eyes narrowed. It's got a hold of you, hasn't it? What do you mean? I stammered. The thing in that house, it's using you, feeding on your fear. What is it? I pleaded. She hesitated. It's old, older than this town, older than this country. It's a spirit, a demon, something that feeds on despair. It was awakened when they desecrated the burial ground, and it's been waiting ever since. How do I stop it? You have to fight it. You have to break its hold on you. How? Remember, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Remember what you were before it took hold. I went back to the house, determined to fight, but the entity was stronger now. It was inside my head, twisting my thoughts, amplifying my fears. I saw visions of Brian, his face contorted with anger and disappointment. I heard his voice accusing me of being weak and pathetic. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. I couldn't do this. I was too broken. Then I remembered Martha's words. Remember what you were before it took hold. I thought about my childhood, about the happy memories I had shared in this house with my parents. I remembered their love, their support, their strength. A flicker of defiance ignited within me. I wasn't going to let this thing control me. I wasn't going to let it destroy me. I stood up, my legs trembling. I walked down to the basement, to the hidden room. The room was filled with a dark, oppressive energy. I could feel the entity's presence all around me, watching, waiting. I picked up one of the old tools, a rusted iron bar. I held it in my hands, feeling its weight, its solidity. I'm not afraid of you, I said, my voice shaking but firm. You don't control me. The entity laughed, a cold, mocking sound that echoed through the room. You think you can defeat me, it hissed, its voice inside my head. I am ancient, I am powerful, you are nothing. I am Sarah, I said, and this is my home. I charged at the wall, swinging the iron bar with all my might. The wall crumbled, revealing the earth behind it. I kept swinging, smashing the wall, tearing away at the earth. I was fueled by rage, by fear, by a desperate need to reclaim my life. The entity screamed, its voice becoming weaker. David burst into the room, his eyes wide with shock. Sarah, what are you doing? "I'm fighting back," I yelled. "Help me." He hesitated for a moment, then grabbed another tool and joined me, smashing the wall, tearing at the earth. Together, we destroyed the hidden room, exposing the darkness within. The entity's power waned. It tried to fight us, to possess us, but we were too strong. Finally, with a final, agonizing scream, it released its hold on me. I collapsed on the ground, exhausted and trembling. The pain in my scalp was gone. The visions had stopped. David helped me up. "Are you okay?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "It's gone," but I knew it wasn't truly gone. It had escaped into the forest, wounded but still alive. We cleaned up the house, destroying the evidence of the entity's presence. We sealed off the hidden room. Dr. Carter was shocked by my account, but she offered her support and understanding. She said I had experienced a traumatic event and that I needed to focus on healing. I knew she didn't fully believe me, but it didn't matter. I knew what I had experienced. I decided to stay in the house. I wasn't going to let the entity drive me away. I was going to protect it, to protect the town. I started researching ways to permanently destroy the entity. I learned about ancient rituals, about folklore, about the power of belief. The object in my scalp was gone, but I still felt its presence lingering within me, a constant reminder of what I had faced. I knew the battle was far from over. One evening, I was standing on my porch watching the forest. The trees were dark and silent, but I could feel the entity's presence lurking within them. Then I saw it. A figure standing on the edge of the forest, barely visible in the darkness. It was tall and thin, with eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. It stared at me for a long moment, and then it smiled.